When I moved into my new house, I never imagined I'd become the kind of person who checks every window lock twice before bed. The place seemed perfect. A quaint two-story home on a quiet street, big enough for one person and my dog Milo. It was old, sure, but it had charm, creaking floorboards, a fireplace that hadn't seen flames in decades, and an attic that the real estate agent described as full of potential. The first few nights were calm. The wind made the old pipes groan, and sometimes I'd hear squirrels scurrying on the roof. Nothing unusual until I noticed Milo acting strange. He'd sit at the foot of the stairs, ears perked, staring up into the darkness. Sometimes he'd growl, low and steady. I'd tell myself it was just the house settling. But then things went missing, little things at first. My keys, my phone charger. I blamed myself. But when I found my keys in the attic, an attic I hadn't opened since moving in, I felt a chill in my spine. That's when I bought the cameras. I installed them everywhere: living room, kitchen, hallway, backyard. The feed ran to my phone. Mostly, they recorded hours of nothing. Empty rooms, the occasional shadow when Milo wandered by. For a while, it made me feel better until one night. At 2:37 a.m., my phone buzzed with a motion alert. I groggily tapped the screen, expecting to see Milo on the couch again. Instead, the living room camera showed a figure, pale, thin, crawling on all fours across the floor. It wasn't Milo, it wasn't even human. I froze, staring at my phone screen in the dark. The thing on the feed crawled with a jerky, unnatural motion, its limbs bent at angles that shouldn't bend. It stopped by the couch, lifting its head like it was sniffing the air. The camera's night vision caught its face for just a second. Sunken eyes, stretched skin, a mouth that seemed too wide. My heart hammered so loud I was sure Milo could hear it. He wasn't barking, though. He wasn't anywhere in the living room. I flipped through the other cameras. The hallway, empty, kitchen, nothing. Backyard, pitch black. I switched back to the living room feed. The figure was gone. I waited 1 minute, two. My breath felt stuck in my chest. Then another motion alert pinged. The hallway camera. I tapped it, hands shaking. The same thing, whatever it was crawling up my stairs, dragging itself along the banister like it had done this 100 times before. My bedroom was upstairs, and so was I. Suddenly, Milo barked, a single, sharp bark. He was in the corner of my room, eyes locked on my closed door, fur bristling. I muted my phone. I didn't want to hear another alert. I wanted to believe this was a nightmare, but the cold sweat soaking my back told me it wasn't. Slowly, I crept toward the door and pressed my ear against it. Silence. Then 3 soft knocks. Not loud, almost polite. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over Milo. He growled again, teeth bared. His eyes never left the door. I held my breath, waiting for the knocks to come again. But they didn't. Instead, something scraped against the door. A fingernail? A claw? I didn't know. My phone buzzed again. Another alert. I forced myself to look. The attic camera, one I'd forgotten I installed, pointing down from the hatch. It was open, and from above, two pale hands gripped the edge, pulling something back up into the darkness. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor in the corner of my bedroom, Milo pressed against my side, both of us staring at the attic hatch in the hallway, through the crack under my door. I tried to tell myself it was just a raccoon, a stray cat, anything but what I'd seen on that grainy feed. But deep down, I knew better. By dawn, the house was quiet, too quiet, the kind of stillness that hums in your bones like the air itself is holding its breath. I replayed the attic footage over and over. The way the thing moved, like it was used to the crawl space, like it belonged there. I needed to know. So just after sunrise, I grabbed the flashlight from the kitchen, unlocked the attic hatch, and pulled down the ladder. Milo barked once, low and nervous. "It's okay, boy," I lied. I climbed up slowly, every rung groaning under my weight. My flashlight beam cut through the dust and cobwebs, dancing over cardboard boxes and old holiday decorations I hadn't seen since I moved in. Then I saw it. In the far corner, just behind an old trunk, there was a small pile of things, scraps of fabric, bits of what looked like chewed plastic, and in the middle, a pile of bones. Small bones, not human. Maybe a possum, a raccoon, but something about the way they were arranged felt deliberate, like they had been laid out as an offering. Suddenly, the air in the attic shifted, a soft rustling behind me. I spun around, flashlight beam trembling. Nothing, except right there, on the wooden beam above my head, 3 deep scratch marks, fresh, splinters still dangling. I climbed down faster than I'd ever moved in my life. Milo whined at the bottom, tail tucked so tight it nearly vanished. I slammed the hatch shut, locked it, and duct taped the edges. It wouldn't hold forever, but it made me feel a tiny bit safer. Then I sat on the couch, staring at the blank TV screen, Milo trembling at my feet. What the hell had I let into my house? That evening, I tried to act normal, ordered takeout, played with Milo in the yard, pretended the attic didn't exist. But when the sun dipped behind the trees and the house fell back into shadow, the dread came flooding back. I sat in front of my laptop watching the security feeds on split screens. Living room, kitchen, backyard, attic crawl space, nothing moved, nothing creaked, just that same dead silence. Until midnight. It started with the attic cam. A flicker, like a glitch in the feed. The screen buzzed once, then the shape was back. But this time it wasn't crouched in the corner. It was at the hatch door. It just stood there, its head tilted too far to the side, like it was listening. Its limbs were longer than I'd realized, bending at unnatural angles, one elbow resting on the hatch handle. I felt sick. I watched breathless as its mouth opened. No sound came out, just the grainy pixels of an empty scream. Then, thud, something slammed against the attic door from the other side of the house. Milo bolted under the coffee table, growling. I froze, staring at the hallway where the hatch was taped shut. Another thud, louder, then scratching. Long, deliberate scratches, like fingernails dragging along the wood. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept by the couch and crept toward the hallway. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. When I reached the attic hatch, the scratching stopped. I held my breath. Then, one final whisper of movement, a low voice right above me vibrating through the wood. "Let me watch." I dropped the bat, ran outside, didn't even grab my keys. Milo was right behind me, barking at the dark windows of our own house. We sat in my car for hours, engine idling, eyes fixed on the attic window, but nothing moved, nothing showed itself. Eventually, I fell asleep in the driver's seat. Milo's head on my lap, the house looming behind the windshield like an open mouth. When I woke up, the sun was rising behind the house, bathing it in soft, harmless light. For a second, it almost looked normal, like nothing had happened. But when I got out of the car and looked up at the attic window, I saw the smear, a handprint, long fingers, too long, pressed from the inside, streaked downward like whatever made it I had dragged its nails through condensation or something wetter. I felt like I was going to be sick. I brought Milo inside with me, every nerve in my body screaming. I didn't even take off my shoes. Went straight to the laptop and rewound the attic footage. The feed jumped and glitched, but I forced it back hour by hour. And there it was. At exactly 2:47 a.m., the thing crawled back up into the corner, bones bending like wet twigs. Before settling, it turned its face toward the camera one last time. It looked wrong. Not just because it was pale and contorted, but because its eyes seemed familiar, like they were mine. I paused the feed, stared at my own reflection on the dark laptop screen. No, no, no. I shut the laptop and nearly hurled it across the room. I had to talk to someone, so I did the worst thing I could do. I called my mom. She answered on the second ring. Hey, honey, you okay? You sound. Mom, did anything weird ever happen in this house before you sold it to me? There was a pause, a long one, then a sigh. I didn't want to worry you, but when you were a baby, you'd stare at the ceiling for hours, laughing, pointing, sometimes crying so hard, I'd think you were in pain. We thought it was just baby stuff, night terrors. But then she trailed off. Then what, Mom? Then your father started hearing things up there too, whispering, like a radio left on in an empty room. After he after he was gone, I had the attic sealed shut. I thought it was over. My throat tightened. Why didn't you tell me this before? I didn't want to scare you. Honey, you should move. Get out of that house. Please. But I knew. Deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. I turned to the hallway, to the attic hatch, where something was scratching again, slow and patient. After Mom hung up, I sat there for what felt like hours. Milo paced around my feet, tail down, whining at the ceiling. Finally, I forced myself up. If there really was something more to this house, something inside it, I needed to know. I dug out the old paperwork Mom left when she sold me the place. Deeds, inspection reports, blueprints. At first, nothing stood out, but tucked in the back of the manila folder was a faded sheet, the original floor plan from the 1940s. I spread it out on the kitchen table and traced the layout with my finger. The attic was smaller on the plan. Back then, there was an extra room, labeled nursery, but when the house was remodeled in the 80s, the wall was sealed off. No mention of it in the newer blueprints. A chill crawled down my spine. Who seals off a nursery? I grabbed my flashlight and climbed the attic ladder, Milo whining at the bottom. The hatch creaked open into stale, dusty air. Cobwebs clung to my hair as I shone the light across boxes, old furniture covered in sheets. And then I saw it, a seam in the far wall, cracked paint, a faint outline of where a door used to be. My heart pounded so hard I felt dizzy. I found a crowbar in the garage, came back and wedged it into the seam. The wood gave way with a sickening crack. Behind it, darkness. I shone my light inside, a tiny room, wallpaper peeling in long curls. A child's crib pushed into a corner. Something moved behind it. I stumbled back, nearly falling down the attic ladder. When I caught my breath, I looked again. It was a mirror, a tall antique mirror, half covered by an old sheet. The glass was cracked through the center like a lightning bolt. For a moment, I thought I saw someone standing in it, a pale figure, too tall, too thin, smiling. I blinked. It was gone, but on the crib's dusty mattress lay something worse, a VHS tape, labeled in faded marker. He is not alone. Back in the living room, I dug out my old VCR from the storage closet. It was dusty, but it still worked. I shoved the tape in, hands shaking. The TV flickered to life, static at first, then a warped image. A room, the nursery, exactly how it looked now, except not abandoned. There were toys scattered across the floor, a rocking chair slowly moving. Then a man stepped into view, middle-aged, thin in hair, wearing a bathrobe. He looked exhausted, eyes sunken deep into his skull. He turned to face the camera and spoke, voice trembling. If you found this, then you know he's still here. The camera panned past him to the crib. A shape sat in it, not a baby, something much too big. Its limbs were long, spindly. It rocked back and forth, head tilting in short, jerky motions. The man continued. He listens through the walls, through the glass. He grows when you watch him. And once you see him, he sees you too. My pulse thundered in my ears. Milo whined beside me, pressing his nose into my leg. The man leaned closer to the camera. If you hear him at night, do not answer, do not speak, do not let him know your name. Suddenly, the nursery door behind him creaked open by itself. A tall, thin shadow slipped out from the crib. It crawled along the wall, movements insect-like. The man screamed, a raw, choking sound, and the screen went black. I yanked the tape out. My hands were slick with sweat. Somewhere upstairs, I heard the faintest noise, a creak on the floorboards. I grabbed my phone and dialed Mom's number, desperate for her voice, straight to voicemail. In the silence, a whisper curled through the living room. He knows you now. I dropped the phone. It clattered to the floor, the voicemail beep echoing in my head. Milo growled, a deep, low sound that made the hair on my arm stand up. He was staring at the hallway that led to the stairs. Another creak, this one closer. It sounded like bare feet dragging. I backed up until I hit the wall. My eyes flicked to the baseball bat propped near the back door, left over from when I thought I'd needed protection from burglars. Not this. Milo barked once, a sharp warning. Then I heard it. A voice, high-pitched, mocking. Come play, come play, come play. It echoed from the baby monitor I'd left on the kitchen counter, the same monitor that hadn't worked in years. Come play. I forced my feet to move, inching toward the bat. Every shadow in the hallway seemed to twitch. Milo's barking turned frantic. He lunged forward, teeth bared, but then skidded to a stop, tail tucked between his legs. He whined, backing up until he was pressed against my leg. The voice shifted. Now it sounded like my mother. Sweetie, it's okay. Open the door. The basement door creaked. I hadn't been down there since I moved in. It had always felt wrong, like the air was heavier, thicker. Now the doorknob rattled, turning slowly. I gripped the bat so tight my knuckles popped. If you hear him at night, do not answer, do not speak. Do not let him know your name. The man's warning from the tape replayed in my head. He knows you now. The basement door slammed open. A rush of cold air hit my face. Milo barked again, then went silent. His ears flattened. His whole body shook. I stepped forward, peering down the pitch-black stairs. At the bottom, 2 pinpricks of light blinked back at me. They weren't reflections. They were eyes. And they were getting closer. I forced myself not to blink. The eyes at the bottom of the stairs didn't glow like an animal's. They pulsed, like they were breathing. The thing they belonged to was hunched, its limbs too long for the narrow steps. It started to climb, slow, deliberate, one thin hand, then the other, nails scraping the old wood. Come play, come play, come play. The voice wasn't coming from the monitor anymore. It was coming from that thing. I stumbled backward, the bat slipping in my sweaty grip. Milo didn't bark, he whimpered, then bolted into the living room, his claws skittering on the floorboards. I wanted to run too, but my feet felt rooted. The thing reached the top step. It stood fully now, wrong angles, head cocked too far to the side. A grin stretched across its pale face, splitting it ear to ear. Its eyes twitched, shifting from mine to the bat, back to mine. It spoke again, but this time it was my voice. You shouldn't have watched. I swung the bat. It passed right through the thing, like hitting smoke, but the impact sent me sprawling onto my back, the bat clattering away. The thing leaned over me, its grin dripping shadows onto my chest. You see me now? Its words rattled inside my skull. Now, you'll always see me. The lights flickered. The hallway behind it stretched, deepened like the shadows were folding in on themselves. I crawled backward, heels slipping on the floor, desperate to reach the front door, but the thing lunged, its face inches from mine, cold breath on my cheek. Watch, it hissed. Always watch. Then it vanished, gone. No footsteps, no echo, just the basement door swinging shut, creaking until it clicked. I lay there staring at the ceiling, heart hammering, like it was trying to break free. Milo crept back, pressing his wet nose to my cheek, whining. I buried my face in his fur, whispering, "It's not real, it's not real." But I knew it was real, and now it was inside the house. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the living room couch, Milo curled in my lap, every light in the house turned on. The bat rested across my knees, useless as it was. I couldn't stop replaying that grin, the way its eyes pulsed like they were alive with something other than blood. At dawn, I finally moved. I opened the basement door again. Sunlight trickled down the steps, revealing nothing but boxes, old paint cans, the water heater humming away. No sign of the thing, no sign of the crawling footprints I was sure I'd seen. Still, I couldn't ignore it. I grabbed my phone and called a security company. I told them about the glitches, the strange figures, the static. The guy on the line, some technician named Harris, sounded skeptical but agreed to come by that afternoon. Hours dragged. Milo refused to go near the basement door. Every time I glanced at the monitor feed, the cameras were crystal clear, like nothing had ever happened. No static, no whispers, no figure. When Harris arrived, he was young, 20-something, buzz cut, heavy tool bag on his shoulder. He gave me the polite smile of someone who'd heard too many crazy stories. "Probably just a wiring issue," he said, setting up his laptop next to my router. "Or a software glitch. These older systems can do weird stuff." He plugged in, tapped away, frowned. "Okay, that's odd." "What?" I asked, leaning over his shoulder. "There's a secondary feed running. It's like your cameras are broadcasting to a remote server, but that shouldn't be possible. You didn't set up cloud storage?" I shook my head. "No, I wanted everything local." He turned pale. "Well, someone's watching, or something is." He showed me the logs, timestamps stretching back weeks, maybe longer. Someone had been accessing my footage, downloading it, replaying it. My stomach turned. "Can you shut it down?" He nodded slowly. "I can try, but I gotta warn you, if whoever did this is good, they could have left back doors. It might come back." I didn't care. "Do it. Erase everything." Harris wiped the drives, replaced the software, reset the whole system. But before he left, he paused at the door. "You ever hear of the Latchman house?" he asked suddenly. I frowned. "What's that?" He shifted uneasily. "This place used to be a part of that property decades ago. Local legend says the guy who built it dug tunnels under all the houses on this block, said he could watch anyone, anywhere. They found rooms under some basements, tiny rooms with holes in the walls." I felt my skin crawl. "My basement?" He shrugged. "Could be nothing. Just be careful. And call me if you see anything again." When he left, the house felt smaller, quieter. Too quiet. That night, I set up the cameras again. Brand new software, new feed, no remote storage. I wanted proof that I wasn't losing my mind. At 2:33 a.m., the feed flickered. A shape crawled out of the basement doorway, gliding on two long limbs. And this time, the thing spoke clearly. "You let me in. Now let me show you where I live." The floor creaked behind me. I didn't turn around right away. Every hair on my neck stood up as that voice, raspy yet childlike, echoed behind me. Milo hissed at the hallway, then bolted under the couch. I forced myself to breathe, one shaky inhale at a time. When I finally spun around, the hallway was empty. No footprints, no figure. Just the basement door, slightly ajar like it was waiting for me. I grabbed my phone, no signal. I opened my camera app, turned on the flashlight, and stepped forward. The beam cut through the hallway gloom, each shadow twitching as if it might lunge at me. I pushed the basement door open. Stale, cold air hit my face. The wooden steps creaked under my weight. The deeper I went, the more I felt it. An electric hum, like standing near a live wire, something old pulsed behind the walls. At the bottom, I scanned every corner: boxes, a workbench, the water heater, all normal. But then I noticed a spot behind the shelves, wooden boards that didn't match the rest of the wall. I moved the shelves aside. Dust choked the air, cobwebs clinging to my hair. The boards were loose. I pried at one with a crowbar. The plank fell away, revealing a narrow tunnel carved straight through dirt and concrete. A faint draft drifted out, carrying a smell of damp earth and something sour like rotten leaves. My heart hammered. I should have called the police, should have run, but some terrible curiosity rooted me in place. I stepped inside. The tunnel sloped down. I felt the walls packed soil reinforced with old planks. It was barely wide enough to crawl through. After a few meters, the passage widened into a cramped chamber. My phone flashlight flickered over crumbling bricks, and a single metal chair bolted to the floor. There were scratch marks all around it, deep grooves in the bricks, like fingernails clawing for escape. Above the chair, a tiny hole bored through the ceiling. I could see the faint glow of my basement light filtering down. Someone had been watching. My legs shook. I turned to crawl back and froze. Carved into the wall, in jagged letters, was a single phrase: "It lives in the walls. It wears your face." Something moved behind me. I whipped around and saw my own reflection in the phone screen. But my reflection smiled. I didn't. It mouthed two words: "Stay here." The light died. The tunnel went pitch black, and something cold brushed my shoulder. The darkness felt alive. I clawed at my pocket for the phone, but the screen stayed dead. No flashlight, no signal, nothing but the slow, rhythmic drip of water somewhere deeper in the tunnel. I forced my breathing to steady. Crawling backward, I scraped my elbows raw against the walls. But the tunnel seemed longer now, stretching impossibly, as if the house itself were pulling me deeper. I heard the voice again, faint, a whisper just behind my ear. "He sees you. He loves how you pretend not to know." I jolted forward, slamming my shoulder into the dirt wall. The tunnel shuddered, raining soil onto my head. My hands found the edge of the basement floor above. I scrambled up, half blind, lungs burning. I burst back into the basement. The door at the top of the stairs was closed, though I knew I'd left it open. Something moved in the shadows behind the boiler, a shape like a man, just watching. I didn't wait to see if it stepped forward. I bolted up the stairs and slammed into the door. Locked. From the outside. I pounded on it, shouting. My own voice echoed back, flat, lifeless. Then I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, on the other side. They stopped at the door. A whisper slid through the crack. "You shouldn't have seen him." The lock clicked. The door drifted open a few inches. I pushed it wide and stumbled into my hallway. The house looked the same, but felt wrong. The air was thick, the lights buzzing with a low hum like a nest of insects. Every mirror, there were three, was covered now with sheets I didn't remember hanging. Something rattled in the living room. I stepped in, holding my breath. The TV was on, static. A face flickered in the static. Mine. It was staring straight at me, lips moving soundlessly. Then the words bled onto the screen. "Let us in." I backed away, tripped over Milo's toy, and felt a hot sting on my palm as I landed. I looked down. A fresh scratch. 3 lines, raw and red, like something with claws had grabbed me in the dark. Milo was nowhere. The house was dead silent. I knew what I had to do. I grabbed my car keys, didn't bother with a bag. I just ran. Out the front door into the cold night, barefoot on the porch steps. But my car sat in the driveway, door ajar, dome light on, and in the driver's seat, I swear I saw someone with my face. Smiling, the figure in the driver's seat lifted a hand and waved at me. The porch light flickered once, twice, then died. I stepped back, the car door shut itself, and the engine started. I stumbled back inside, my heartbeat hammering in my ears. I knew I couldn't leave. Whatever this was, it wouldn't let me go. Running only made it follow closer. The living room was still buzzing with the TV's static glow. I snatched the remote, punched the power button. Nothing. The face in the screen shifted, distorting like it was pressing closer to the glass. "Let us in," it hissed again, but this time I heard it in the room too, like an echo without a source. I ran for the kitchen. My phone, useless in the tunnel, was now flickering back to life. I tried calling the police. My fingers fumbled the numbers. Before it could ring, the call ended itself. No signal. A soft thud came from upstairs. My stomach turned cold. Milo. I grabbed the biggest knife I could find from the block by the sink. Every step up the staircase felt like pushing through water. My feet left damp prints on the steps. When did they get wet? At the top, the hallway light was off. The doors were cracked open just enough for shadows to spill out. "Daddy," Milo's voice, but flat, hollow. I pushed open his bedroom door. Empty. Toys scattered, blanket on the floor. The closet door trembled, as if someone inside was laughing, just under their breath. I gripped the knife tighter. "Milo, buddy, come out, okay?" A scratching sound answered, nails on wood. Slowly, I edged forward and yanked the closet door open. Nothing, just the dark. Then the security camera on Milo's shelf clicked. Its lens swiveled to face me. The tiny red light blinked twice. Then a distorted version of my voice played back through its speaker. "He's waiting for you downstairs." I stumbled back, dropping the knife. A cold draft crawled down the hallway behind me. I turned and saw my bedroom door standing wide open. Inside, the covered mirror on my dresser fluttered as if someone had brushed past it. I stepped in, my feet sank slightly into the carpet, damp with something I couldn't see. I reached for the sheet covering the mirror, but a reflection was already bleeding through the thin fabric. My face smiling, always smiling. It lifted a hand and pressed against the other side of the glass. I felt the cold touch on my cheek, as if the reflection were stroking my skin. "Time to come home," it whispered. The fabric dropped. The mirror was empty. But behind me, in the reflection, I saw the tunnel door. Wide open, dirt steps leading down, and a figure standing there, at the edge of the shadows. It was Milo, or something, wearing Milo's skin. It waved. I wanted to run. I wanted to slam the door and pretend none of this had ever happened. But when your child's shape, stands in a place that shouldn't exist, you don't get to run. I stumbled down the hallway, my socks soaking through with cold earth that wasn't there a moment ago. The tunnel door in the living room was yawning wide open now, like a wound in the floorboards. A faint light flickered from deep inside. The security camera above the doorway swiveled, its red light blinking in time with my heartbeat. "Daddy!" The voice drifted up from the tunnel. It was Milo's, but stretched, hollow, like it was echoing through a throat that had forgotten how to speak. I stepped closer to the opening. A smell hit me then. Wet soil, rust, and something older, like the smell of old photographs sealed away for decades. "Daddy, I'm scared. Come down here with me." My eyes watered. Some part of me knew this was wrong, knew that the thing below was using my love like bait. But that other part, maybe the weaker part, needed to be sure. What if somehow he really was down there? I grabbed the flashlight from the hall table, clicked it on, and started down the narrow dirt steps. Each footstep sank into the earth with a wet squelch. The deeper I went, the colder the air grew. My breath came out in white puffs. Behind me, the tunnel door slammed shut. I froze. Total darkness pressed in. The flashlight's weak beam bounced off mud walls that seemed to breathe. Small holes pockmarked the sides of the tunnel, rat burrows or something worse. "Daddy, hurry!" The voice was closer now. Around a bend ahead, a pale shape flickered at the edge of the light. Milo, I croaked. My throat felt raw. The shape ducked behind the corner. I forced myself forward. The walls seemed to pulse. I heard whispers inside the dirt, multiple voices, all saying my name over and over. Come closer. You were always going to come closer. I rounded the bend. The tunnel opened into a low chamber, ceiling held up by rotten wood beams. And there, at the far end, stood the thing that wore my son's face. It was Milo's size, Milo's hair, Milo's pajamas, but the skin looked paper thin, stretched too tight. The eyes, they were black pits, with the smallest glimmer of red deep inside. In its tiny hand, it held the baby monitor camera. The lens was cracked, wires dangling like veins. Stay with us, Daddy, it rasped. The voice buzzed, doubling over itself, as if 2 or 3 versions of Milo were trying to speak at once. I stepped back, the flashlight trembling in my grip. My heel caught on something, soft, wet. I glanced down. Buried halfway in the dirt was the real baby monitor, screen flickering. It showed my living room, empty. The tunnel door above was gone, sealed tight with boards. The thing lunged. I swung the flashlight. It burst apart in a burst of sparks. Darkness swallowed me whole. Clawing hands caught my arms, my legs. Whispering filled my ears. My own voice, Milo's, my wife's, all blending into static. You let us in. You're home now. I don't know how long I was down there in that dark, breathing tunnel. Seconds felt like hours. The walls closed in, whispering with every heartbeat. The thing wearing Milo's face clung to me, cold fingers digging into my shoulders. Stay. Be with us. You belong down here. The voices rose like a chorus. I felt my mind splitting at the seams. But in that bottomless fear, something snapped back. A memory. Milo's real laugh, not this thing's broken mimicry, the smell of his hair after bath time, the warm weight of him asleep on my chest. My real son was gone. And this thing was just a grave that refused to stay buried. I grabbed the cracked baby monitor from the dirt. Its screen flickered, my living room again, the camera feed fuzzy but clear enough to see the tunnel door. For a split second, I saw myself, dirty, terrified, staring back through the monitor. You don't belong here. The words didn't come from the thing. They came from me. I hurled the monitor at the thing's face. Sparks burst. The tunnel shook like a living throat having a seizure. The child-shaped thing shrieked, its mouth unhinging far too wide, leaking shadows that curled around my feet. I forced myself toward the slope, clawing up the wet steps as the walls caved in behind me. The whispers rose to a scream. I kept repeating one thing in my head over and over. You don't belong here. I don't belong here. When my hands hit wood, I slammed my fists against the tunnel door. Over and over. The boards cracked. Light bled through. One final shove. I burst out onto my living room floor, gasping, filthy, blinking in the pale dawn light. The TV flickered with static. The security feed was gone. The tunnel entrance behind me was sealed. Just the old floorboards, scuffed but whole, like it never existed. I crawled to the couch and sat there until the sun rose, every nerve raw. I must have looked at that spot 1,000 times that day, half expecting the boards to split open again, half expecting that mimic voice to call my name, but it never did. I moved out a week later, left everything. I don't know who'll live here next, if they'll hear the whispers too. I never found out who built that room or what was really down there, but sometimes late at night, I still dream about the camera feed. And in that dream, the floor opens, the walls breathe, and my son's voice calls me to come back down. But I don't. Not anymore. A month later, the new tenants didn't stay long. They said the walls creaked all night, like something crawling just out of sight. One of them left behind an old phone they'd used as a makeshift security cam. A single video file was saved on it. It's only 5 seconds long. It shows the living room dimly lit, perfectly still. Then the floorboards by the wall shiver, like something is breathing underneath. A faint, childlike voice whispers, crackly and distant, "Daddy, come back." And then it cuts to black.